Hi, everybody. Um, Welcome and Happy New Year. Um, welcome to this very first episode of Hanjado, the Way of Hanja. And I am your Hanja host, Kurt. Hanjado is a new daily series of videos, fairly brief videos about Chinese characters, also known as Hanja. And in honor of this being the first episode, and also in honor of this being the first day of the new year of the Fire Horse, our first Hanja is going to be a Hanja, one of whose meanings is first. Now I'm going to make myself smaller. There, nice and small. Okay, put me down here. So it's the first 10 videos in this series are going to be on the. I got it. Look at this. How did this slide get messed up? I'll fix that later. But the first 10 episodes of this series will be on the 10 heavenly stems, which are very special characters. And one of the meanings of these characters is that they are used as ordinal numbers. Now this Hanja looks like this right here, and it's pronounced Gop in Sino-Korean, or as this one, it has different pronunciations in Japanese. Japanese tends to be more complicated. Jop, something like Jop in Vietnamese, and something like Jia in Mandarin. In addition to being the first of the 10 heavenly stems and also being used for the ordinal number first, the Hanja Gop also has other means, and in particular, it can mean a shell. And this is important because the earliest Chinese writing, the earliest characters, the earliest form of the Chinese characters are called Gapgol Mun, which literally means shell bone writing, and that's because these characters were found written on shells and bones. Now this map shows the parts of Asia where Chinese characters play an important role historically and culturally. And in most of these places, Chinese characters are still to be found and are still important, especially characters like the 10 heavenly stems, which we'll talk more about what that means as we go along. Like I said, and as you may very well know, that today is the first day of the new lunar year, which can be called different things. Sometimes it's called Chinese New Year. Sometimes it's called the Lunar New Year. I usually refer to it as the East Asian Lunar New Year because it is important throughout East Asia and not just in China, of course. Oh yeah, that was a picture. This is from Korea. This is just pictures. If you do a search on DuckDuckGo, look for images associated with the Lunar New Year. That's what you'll find. And these are some images that you can find searching around for how the Lunar New Year is celebrated in different parts of Asia. Malaysia, which has a very large Buddhist population that celebrates the Lunar New Year. Here in Washington, D.C., or near me in Washington, D.C., Singapore, Vietnam. The Lunar New Year is a huge deal in Vietnam, and in San Francisco. And this is a kind of a little humorous. Of all these places throughout East Asia, Japan is the only one where this holiday is not a holiday, as in it's a work day. Japanese people still pay attention to the Lunar New Year and celebrate it, but not as a national holiday where everybody just expects to get off of work. Okay, so February 17th, 2026, today, is the first day of the year of the Fire Horse, or just Fire Horse year. Throughout East Asia and elsewhere in the world, among speakers of East Asian languages, that is Chinese, different varieties of Chinese, including Mandarin, Cantonese, and there's a bunch of other languages that can all be referred to as Chinese. But also there's other languages that are not Chinese languages, like Korean, Vietnamese, and Japanese in particular. In all these languages, the fire horse here is referred to with the same Chinese characters, and there are different ways of pronouncing these characters. Byung O Nyum, Bing Wu Nyan, I don't know, I shouldn't really try to mangle these too badly. But this is just to give you an idea of this every year in the 60-year East Asian lunar calendar. The years repeat every 6 years. Each year is assigned one heavenly stem, that's the first character, and one earthly branch, that's the second character, and the third character just means year. As suggested by the English name fire horse, each year is associated with one of the 5 traditional elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, or water, and one of the 12 different animals in the East Asian lunar calendar: rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, and pig. Now, especially in Vietnam, but in other countries and possibly in different regions of China, somewhat different animals might be assigned. Like in particular, I know that in Vietnam, they do not celebrate the year of the rat. I believe it is the year of the rat. Instead, they celebrate the year of the cat. I think it's rat and cat. I know there's a cat in here somewhere in the Vietnamese zodiac. All right. And as I said, these names, the 2 characters that are used to give the name to each year, come from this 2 very special groups of Chinese characters: the 10 heavenly stems and the 12 earthly branches. So after the first 10 episodes of Hanjado, we will move directly to doing the 12 earthly branches. So the first 22 days, 3 weeks plus 1 day, will be devoted to these special characters in this web series. Okay, so every time we meet a new Hanja, a new Chinese character, which we will do every day, there are 7 things that you should know about Hanja. And these are 7 things that you need to know in order to be able to say that you know that character. First of all, you have to know what it means. You have to know what it looks like. Now, this is, you have to pay attention here. Knowing what it looks like means if someone else writes it down, or if it's printed and appears on your computer screen, you can recognize it when you see it. Knowing what it sounds like, again, if someone else pronounces it, or if you hear a recording, you recognize what it sounds like. It's different, though, if you have to write it or if you have to say it. These are active language skills. The previous 2 were passive language skills, and so reading and listening are passive language skills. Writing and speaking are active language skills. So those are the first 5 things you need to know. You also need to know the radical. The radical is important for both for historical reasons and just you can't really say that you understand what you're talking about when you're talking about Chinese characters unless you know what radicals are and what the radicals of different characters are. And then one thing that we will focus on in this series is Hangul, which is the traditional Korean writing system. And every Hanja, the pronunciation of every Hanja is associated with a Hangul. All right, so, and this is just to repeat what I said above. It's one thing to recognize a Chinese character when you see it, and it is another thing to be able to sit down with a blank piece of paper and a pen and write the character yourself so that someone else can recognize it when they see it. And it's the one thing to be able to recognize a Hanja when you hear it, which means someone else has spoken it. It's another thing to be able to speak it, produce the sound yourself so that someone else can recognize it. All right, and I'll get back to this slide. This is this example of me writing a character, which we will get back to that. Oops, yeah, it started to play okay. All right, so this just looks at all 10 of the 10 heavenly stems real briefly. Like I said, each stem is a combination of one of the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, water, and either yin or yang. And so this year, the fire horse year is a combination of, see, of course we know it's fire. Which one? Oh yeah, which fire? Oh yeah, so it's the yang fire, which we know it's the yang fire because one of the things that the fire horse year is notorious for is it's probably the most yang of all of the years. That's another story. We won't go into that. Let's see. These 10 heavenly stems were originally used back when there was a 10-day week in China. It had a lunar calendar where each month had 30 days divided into 3 10-day weeks. And this is kind of repeating, and it goes into a little bit more than what we really need right now. Let's see. Okay. Again, I'm talking about active and passive language skills. This is one of my favorite Chinese proverbs. If it passes through the eyes 10 times, this is not as good as passing through the hands 1 time. And so, an gua ship pion, bu yo su gua il pion. I'm reading down here. An gua ship pion. That means it's actually a little bit reverse of what I said above. An gua ship pion means passing through the eyes 10 times. Ship pion 10 times. Bulso, not like, or not as good as. Su gua il pion, passing through the hands. Su, 1 time. All right. Or writing once is better than seeing 10 times. And I found this quote in this nice book on this subject of the heavenly stems and the earthly branches. All right. All right. So every episode we will look at a stroke order diagram like this and a stroke order animation. So let's just look at the stroke order diagram first. This shows how the character is written 1 stroke at a time. The first stroke goes straight down. The second stroke, which makes a corner. So the second stroke starts here and ends here. That's second stroke. The third stroke goes straight across through the middle of this box that we're in the process of drawing. And the fourth stroke closes the box at the bottom, and then the fifth stroke goes straight down through the middle. And let's watch the animation to see what that looks like. Turn that sound off. We're going to do this again. 1, here's the first stroke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when you're writing the character yourself, which I'm really encouraging people to do, when you're writing the character yourself, this is what I do. Gop 1, Gop 2, Gop 3, Gop 4, Gop 5. So I'm saying the name of the character, so I'm repeating. I'm practicing those active language skills, which will greatly increase your likelihood of remembering this. All right. So every day, we will see 1 stroke order diagram for the character, a stroke order animation for the character. These will be available for you to download from the. You can watch them on YouTube, and you can download them from my Substack. Let's see. Oh yeah, and then every day you'll get a that you can download. You'll get a practice sheet, and a practice sheet like this. Here's the way that you use this. And now I'm going to go back to the video of me actually doing this myself. You trace the character in these squares, and then you write it. Copy it, basically. You trace and copy 3 times. And let's go back to that slide again. Oh yeah, here we go. All right. So, and this is an important point. When you're, and I'll show some resources that you can make use of if you want to learn how to speak Korean in particular, and really learn. This is not a series of videos to teach you Chinese or Korean or any other language. This is a series of videos to teach you these particular characters, which is an extremely valuable thing to know. If you want to learn Chinese or Japanese or Korean or Vietnamese, these characters play a very prominent role in all those languages. But you can learn the characters without having the goal of becoming fluent in any of those languages. As you're learning the characters, I encourage you to say the character out loud while writing it down, and as you're writing it. And if you do that, then even if you're not saying it very correctly or writing it very beautifully, it will still greatly increase your
Gap.
Here we go.
Gap. 1, 2.
You can't see me, right? You can't. My hand is blocking it, but it gets better. I promise.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gap 1, gap 2, gap 3, gap 4, gap 5. Gap 1, gap 2, gap 3, gap 4, gap 5. Gap 1, gap 2, gap 3, gap 4, gap 5. Gap il, gap e, gap sam, gap sa, gap o. Gap il, gap e, gap sam.
So I'm using the Sino-Korean numbers now at this point in the video. Il is 1, E is 2, Sam is 3, Sa is 4, O is 5.
Gap sa, gap o. Gap 1, gap 2, gap 3, gap 4, gap 5. Yeah.
Now at this point in the video, I'm not going to intentionally write these characters as badly as I can, but I was in a hurry, so that it's not pretty what you're about to see. What's that? Coffee cup. Okay, so now, all right. All right, now, if you really want to work on your listening and speaking active language skills, like I said, if you just kind of get, what it sounds like just from listening to this video here, I can tell you a very poor pronunciation of the characters. If you want to get correct pronunciation, you have to listen to native speakers of Korean. There's 2 really excellent series of videos for free on YouTube. Jenny's Korean and Professor Yoon Korean classes. Also, and here I am going to click on this. The Forvo is this really cool website. Let's see. Is this? Can I get? Oh, here we go. And you can't see it from where you are, but here I'm going to show it. This is a and then it disappeared. Okay, let me get it back up. Forvo is a website where native speakers of different languages upload themselves saying, well, for example,
cup,
here, let's do that again.
cup, cup, cup.
And you'll notice that that sounds more like cop, like with the K. And Korean pronunciation is a correct Korean pronunciation, getting a good accent is difficult.
cup, 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 cup.
So if you go to Forvo and you enter the Hangul for the Hanja into the search bar at Forvo, you'll get one or two or three or sometimes a lot of recordings of native speakers pronouncing it. If you go to either of these two links on YouTube, you'll see one of the things you'll learn from both Professor Yoon and from Jenny is Hangul, how to write Hangul, which I'm going to get to in just a minute. But if you really, really want to learn Korean, two excellent but not free resources for learning to speak Korean. In order to do that, you really need to work with people who are experienced language teachers and who are native speakers of Korean. King Sejong Institute and Italki are both good places to check out. There's links here, which will also be in the description of. Okay, all right. So I mentioned that there are 7 things to learn. What the Hanja means, what it looks like, what it sounds like, how to write it, how to say it. That's 5. All right. The 6th one is the radical. So the radical of gap is jun, field, and which they look almost exactly the same, except for gap has this little tail sticking down, which is just an extension of this same stroke that's in the middle of the jun character. Every Hanja either has a radical or is a radical. The Chinese word for radical is busu. The first character, bu, means part. And the second character means head, leader, best, beginning. So it kind of sort of means the most important part of the character. And the reason why it's so important is because this is how you traditionally, this is how you find characters in a character dictionary. You go to the radical for that character, and then all of the characters that have that radical are listed under that radical. And let's just blow this up a little bit right here. This is, and here is our radical 102, which is the Jun radical. And it would be under the Jun radical that you would find the Gop character. And in this case, all the characters that are listed under a particular radical are then in order of how many additional strokes any character has. In this case, there are actually a number of characters that have the same number of strokes as Jun, the field radical, and but are different, slightly different from one. In this case, Gop has a little tail hanging down. Another one has a little thing poking up. One has a line going all the way through it. Anyway, I'm not going to go into all that, but here's this table. Shows the first 126 radicals ordered by how many strokes the radicals have. So let me just look at this a little bit closer. You can see here, these are all the radicals with 1 stroke. And then you have radicals with 2 strokes, and then you have radicals with 3 strokes, etc. All right. Oh, yeah. So now let's look at how Gop, the pronunciation of this character, how it's written in the native Korean script of Hangul. So every Hangul is made up of consonants and vowels. Sometimes a Hangul can have only one vowel, and that's it. And then it's written in a special way. But gap has a beginning consonant, giok, which is more or less G, but it's usually pronounced a little sharper, harder than we normally think of G in the English language. The vowel A, so this is the giuk, this is the vowel A, and then it ends with biup. This is bachim, when there's a little consonant at the end of the Hangul. It's actually always written at the bottom. This is called bachim, which I think just means the thing at the bottom. And here is a stroke order diagram for this Hangul. It has one stroke for the giuk part. It has two strokes, 2, 3, for the A part. And then it has 4 strokes for the biup part, the bachim at the bottom. 1, 2, the sides, 6, 4, which is, so 1 stroke, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then if you download the PDF either from the description of the YouTube video or from the Substack post, you'll get a practice sheet for writing the Hangul gap. And so those are the 7 things that you need to know. Let's see what's on the next slide. Oh yeah, so this slide now shows all 10 of the heavenly stems, as well as the character for, this is chun, which means heaven, and this is ga, which means stem, or stem is kind of a weird translation of this character, but that's more or less what it means. And so this is gap, ul, byung, jong, mu, gi, gyong. I think I'm getting these right. Let's see. Shin, im, ge. Yeah, okay. And then this is chon and ga. And so you can download this as well. And I think, let's see. Oh, yeah. So this is just kind of an overview of everything that's going to be done in the first, well, this will take well over a year, maybe 2 years to get through all these characters. We'll first start with some Taoist cosmology, which is actually what we're doing right now with the 10 heavenly stems. And this is, all of this is just the Hanja that we're going to do from Taoism. After that, we will move on to the 3-character classic, which is a really important, it's actually a Confucianist children's book, but it has very important Confucianist philosophy in it. And then we'll move on to the Buddhism and look at the Heart Sutra and maybe some other Buddhist texts. And that's it. So thank you for checking out this first episode of Hanjado. And I hope to see you soon. Check out the description of this video if you're watching it on YouTube for links, or check out the associated post on Substack again for links and more information. See you soon. Thanks for checking this out.